Julian Castro, the stepchild for Obama and Hillary, running 2020. But of course, my subs already knew this because we went over that last year. So, Julian Castro, who hates the wall, who does not care about the safety of Americans at all, he thinks the wall is dumb and a waste of time. Julian Castro has been extremely boisterous on the subject of illegal immigration. As a matter of fact, he's very fond of illegal immigration because he's a globalist. But I want to take you to 2011 when Castro was searching for the right words to explain the $1.1 million that vanished under his mayoralship. That 1.1 million was supposed to restore abandoned areas that were affected due to the 2008 housing bubble. Many people were, removed from communities because they lost their homes. And this money was supposed to come in to restore those neighborhoods and invite those people back in. But somehow that money vanished. He managed to give the local hand-picked contractors about $5 million to do some construction around Sacramento that they deemed necessary but not necessarily beneficial to the public. There wasn't any competition. So the HUD auditors, they were concerned about that you're supposed to make sure that you spread that money out. And there were only 6 contractors, all local, all, hand-picked. We need to look into who those 6 contractors were and how close they were connected to Castro. That would be interesting because I don't have that information. But yeah, that's what happened with a lot of the money. And this money was supposed to go to, like I said, restoration for those people. FHA loans. After he got the tap on his shoulder from Obama and became the Urban HUD secretary, this is where he truly showed his support for Wall Street firms and the bankers. Okay, so let's take a minute to look at what FHA loans are, what they do, and why I'm not for FHA loans, and I'll tell you why. FHA loans are insured by Federal Housing Administration. It allows borrowers to finance homes with payment as low as 3.5% down. That's a red flag. This type of loan, the FHA loans, they were targeting people who were first-time home buyers, people who couldn't afford to make a large down payment. They didn't earn enough to make a large down payment. And also people who were already in foreclosure and people who were filing bankruptcies. So those things right there let you know that this was a risk asset. And it's not a crime. Business is business. It's not a crime to sell risk assets. The crime comes in when the people don't understand what a risk asset is and how they can lose. Okay? That's where the crime is, and he has explaining to do. Definitely has explaining to do. In my opinion, I think that when you are going to purchase a home, if it was going to be such a program in existence like this, I think that they should require more than 3.5% down. That's not enough to put down. And I think if you're going to buy a home, you should put more than half down. You want your mortgage rate as low as possible. You want your mortgage rate to look like your Con Edison bill. That's how you want it. So if interest rates do go up, you're secure because you've put more money into your home. And you won't have to, struggle and end up like these people did. And, that's the problem. It was an asset risk. Okay, and the people really didn't understand. We know a lot of us in that situation, like first-time home buyers, people who were already in bankruptcies and foreclosures, so they don't understand money. These people don't understand money, and that's what they were looking for. On top of the FHA loan program, they created another program called DASP, and this was the Asset Stabilization Program. This was created in 2012 on top of the already FHA loan program. And what this program was supposed to do under the Obama administration, it was supposed to give people a breather. It was supposed to give them some relief and slow down the foreclosures, right? And give people, the opportunity to, get their finances together. So what ended up happening was this asset stabilization program, DASP, created 2012 under the Obama administration. What it ended up doing was escalating the foreclosures. So where it was supposed to slow down and help people, it just ramped it up. And who benefits from that? The Wall Street firms and the bankers. So the whole time Castro's in office up there as the urban HUD person, he's riding with the banks. He's riding with Wall Street. Okay, they didn't have any concern about how these moves were going to affect the people. None whatsoever. And what really exposed the situation was good old activism. Okay, you had a group called Citizens Against Government Waste. They're still in existence and they do a good job. And what they do is they give people the poker face of the month. And they gave Julian Castro poker face of the month for participating in risky FHA loans. Now let me explain what they did, what their findings were. Their findings were this FHA loan program was promised to the people to save them a total of $4.5 billion. But instead of saving them $4.5 billion, it ended up costing them $15 billion. So that's a huge lie. And then on top of that, they requested a bailout in the amount of $1.7 billion. Now, they're supposed to maintain a reserve of $20 billion, but when their books were audited, they found out that the FHA program had less than $10 billion in it. Or million. Sometimes I get billion and billion confused, but, you can look it up. I'm going to put the document in the description box. But, yeah, that's what happened. It ended up costing taxpayers $15 billion. And they took a bailout, $1.7 billion. So he showed you who he was. He showed us who he was when that 1.1 million vanished. He wasn't held accountable for that. They just kind of let him skate by. Then when he became the urban HUD person, the urban HUD manager, secretary, or whatever, when he became that, he just escalated his behavior to deceive the people and to go along with the program. He wasn't for the people. Now all of a sudden you hear how he's for the people. I'm gonna attach to this video the hearing. There was a questioning going on of Paquillo, and he's bringing up the taxpayers and how much money it cost them, and just something very interesting. And it's almost like they were giving him an out because the senator kept talking, and when he was trying to give little bits and pieces of answers, the senator was talking, so it almost seemed like a stage way to give him a way out because they knew that he was the Hillary Obama boy, and you don't want to get in the way of especially that Clinton camp. You don't want to get in the way of that. So it seems like they just let him slide. Well, he slid, excuse me, with that. But we don't have to let him slide at all. We do not have to let him slide. We can ask him questions right now and hold him accountable. We can also ask him, Black Americans, why he hasn't signed H.R.40. You can call him up and ask him that, since he will be asking for your vote. And I'm telling you, you will see that he is the protege of Obama. All you have to do is listen to him speak. If you close your eyes, I swear, you will just hear Obama. Literally. So that's what I wanted to bring awareness about Castro. When it comes to money, I don't like people that can make money vanish, especially as my president, and not be held accountable for their actions, which he hasn't. He hasn't been accountable. He has not been held accountable for this missing money, and them doing business with Wall Street the way they were. It took actually Elizabeth Warren and a group of citizens, because I don't want to take credit away from the activism. There were a group of people around the country who got together, and with the assistance of Elizabeth Warren, they were able to pressure Castro into I wrote this down because I really just wanted to get this right. Let me just take a minute to look through my notes because it's really sad. They had to pressure Julian Castro to stop selling delinquent mortgages to Wall Street and help the people that was underwater. That's what they had to ask him to do as urban secretary, chief secretary, whatever the hell that title is. That's what they had to ask him to do. Stop selling delinquent mortgages when you know people are underwater, and do something to help those people. So once the spotlight was put on him, then he started to, make some changes. You seen them, helping people a little bit more. But before that, they were all about the Wall Street game. They were fine with that. So you need to consider that. You definitely need to consider that, especially 2008, that housing bubble. Everybody knows how painful that was. And are you willing to risk having a president that may, try something like this again? So I'm Ray Ray, guys. I like to bring awareness through conversation in hopes that it sparks change.
Mr. Secretary, you and I have been looking at each other across these two tables for 4 hours. We both should have medals for doing this, but I am thrilled to death that we finally have a chance to have a dialogue, sir. You oversee a very large agency, Mr. Castro, about 8,000 employees with an annual budget of $46 billion. Is that right, sir? Okay. And Mr. Tipton mentioned just a minute ago, along with others, that you folks backstop with taxpayer dollars more than half of every home mortgage in America. Is that correct, sir? Thank you.
We have a significant market share.
Thank you. And you do that by using, again, taxpayer dollars to backstop this insurance in the event that there's a problem in the market. Now, in 2007, before the housing crash, before the Great Recession, you folks had about $410 billion worth of mortgage insurance that the taxpayers were on the hook for. Now, that number is $1.1 trillion. Okay? So my question is, and to dovetail what Mr. Tipton said, how big do you want to get, sir?
Congressman, thanks for the question. I think you and I may have a different way of looking at this. If you're talking about the amount of insurance in force, then it's certainly true that I believe that's over $1 trillion now.
Yeah, 1.1 trillion, yes, sir.
And as I mentioned in the conversation, we saw FHA play its traditional.
Is $2 trillion? How about $3 trillion? Maybe $4 trillion.
I
think you have a number, sir. You must have a plan. You're running a very large, very significant organization. You must have a business plan. How big do you want to get, sir?
We're going to continue to serve the market that FHA was created by statute to serve.
Do you think going from $410 billion before the crash, housing market crash, now to $1.1 trillion, and you just said, I think, or you implied that you're not quite sure how far you want to go, do you think that increases the risk to the taxpayer who's backing up your product or not, sir?
The goal that we have is to ensure
so I think we can both agree it probably increases the risk to the taxpayer since they're more on the hook now than they were several years ago. Is that correct?
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
I think that confuses the case.
Okay.
I'm running for president because it's time for new leadership, because it's time for new energy, and it's time for a new commitment to make sure that the opportunities that I've had are available to every American.